morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you at the World HRD Congress 32nd edition. This is actually my 10th time visiting India from the United States, 6 years of which I've come to speak at the World HRD Congress. So, how many of you in the room today are responsible for employee learning and development? A number of you. Each year, it's estimated that Indian companies spend around 45,000 rupees on individual contributors' training and development. And it's almost double that for leaders, about 90,000 rupees. So we invest a lot of money in learning and development. What I want to share with you is an 8-step framework for how we can maximize aligning our instructional design or our learning and development programs with our business goals. I want you to be able to make the case to your business executives and deliver real results. As Nina mentioned, my name is Kristopher Newbauer. I serve as the chair of the board of directors for the International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training, which we affectionately call IACET. This is an organization that accredits training providers to issue CEUs, Continuing Education Units. It is the subsequent organization to a United States Department of Education task force that was convened by the United States government to quantify non-academic education. Of course, in academia, we have the Carnegie Unit, 3 credit hours, 4 credit hours, what have you. IACET came up with the structure and format for quantifying non-academic education and came up with the CEU, the Continuing Education Unit. In addition to that, I serve as the Chief People Officer for Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. How many Rotarians in the room? Awesome, I love to see that. Hopefully, many of you will investigate or explore joining a Rotary Club. We're making a difference in the world. Just a few short years ago, India was declared polio-free. All right, let me walk you through each of the 8 steps, and then I'll talk a little bit about each one of them. Step number 1 is to identify a business challenge. What I would ask you to do is, while I'm talking about these 8 steps, I want you to think about what a business challenge you're facing either now or you think you could be facing sometime in the near future. So notice I use the word challenge instead of problem. That's intentional because I see a business challenge as something that could be reactive, meaning you're addressing a real problem in your business today, or it could be proactive. You're looking at an opportunity perhaps to expand into a new market, introduce new products and services, so on and so forth. So identify a business challenge. Number 2 is to translate that business challenge into a business goal. So we're trying to make this inspirational and motivational for our employees. And what we'll eventually do is create learning and development programs that are geared towards achieving this business goal. Step number 3 is to determine if learning is an appropriate strategy for achieving the goal. So unfortunately, I think some business leaders expect that training solves all problems. And for those of you in learning and development, you know that's not true. However, there are opportunities for us to contribute in other meaningful ways, which I'll talk a little bit more about as we progress in the session today. Step number 4, determine what successful training looks like. So how do we know when our training programs are accomplishing what we need them to accomplish? And I'll talk a little bit about some levels of evaluation in terms of determining whether or not we're achieving those goals. Number 5, determine what knowledge is needed to achieve the business goal. So what do our employees need to know? Number 6, determine what skills are needed to achieve the business goal. So in addition to what they need to know, what do they need to be able to do to actually perform in achieving our business goals? Number 7, we're going to use that needed knowledge and the needed skills to inform our course objectives. So probably everyone in this room has attended a seminar or a conference or some sort of training course where there are course objectives. The instructor starts off saying, by the end of the session, you will be able to accomplish these things or to do these things. Those, of course, are course objectives. We want to make sure that any course objective is being informed by what knowledge and what skills are required by our employees. And then the last of the 8 steps, number 8, for each course objective, we are going to design and develop learning activities. So we're going to make sure that our employees have an opportunity during the training program to actually demonstrate that they've acquired the new knowledge or the new skill. So let me walk through each of these. Step number one, we're identifying a business challenge. I've given a couple examples of what some business challenges might be. For example, if you're in a sales organization, perhaps sales are declining. You may be experiencing increased wastes or increased costs. You may be experiencing increasing employee turnover, etc. So again, think about what sort of business challenge you and your role at your current company are facing today or will be facing in the near future. Then what I want you to do is translate that business challenge into the language of business, which is money. The universal language of business is not English, it's money. So how do we translate our business challenge into money? For example, if we identified our business challenge as declining sales, we may restate that in terms of money as our India sales have declined year over year by 16.6 crore. If we're talking about increasing waste or costs, we might quantify and translate that into the language of business by restating it as the cost of processing each transaction has doubled from 664 rupees per transaction to 1,328 rupees per transaction due to delays and errors. High turnover. Staff turnover has increased from 20% to 45%, which is 100 employees per year to 250 employees per year, which is increasing replacement costs and onboarding costs by 52.9 crore. The Society for Human Resource Management, headquartered out of Washington, D.C. in the United States, estimates that it costs each employer roughly 1.5 times the annual salary of an employee to replace them. That includes costs such as lost productivity for having a vacancy, recruiting costs, the time of the talent acquisition professionals and hiring managers to review resumes, schedule interviews, actually conduct interviews, confer with others to decide who to hire. Then you have to wait, continued lost productivity, waiting for them to join the company from their notice period. Then they have to be trained to be able to perform the job. The time to competency can be costly. The investment in training can be costly. So roughly 1.5 times the annual salary of an employee it takes to replace someone. And you probably would agree that it's cheaper for employers to keep good people than it is to lose them and have to replace them. Number two, translate that challenge into a business goal. So what I've done is for each of the examples, I've converted the business challenge into the language of money, and then I took it one step further and made it a goal. So if, for example, we're dealing with declining sales in India, our goal then becomes to increase India sales by 20.75 crore in 12 months by 1 March 2025. So notice I've made this a SMART goal. It's specific, measurable, adaptable, realistic, and it's time-bound. And this, I suggest, is the goal of training and development or learning programs in your organization. And we'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily. So I've given you the examples for the other business challenges as well. Number three, determine if learning is a solution, rather. So if we have a business challenge in front of us and we've converted it to a business goal, the question then for you becomes, as HR professionals, HR leaders, is training an appropriate solution to helping us solve this business challenge? Probably training can help somehow, but it's not going to be the end-all, be-all. The question then becomes, what knowledge, what skills, and what attitudes are required of our people to be able to achieve the business goal? So knowledge, of course, is what people need to think or know. Attitudes are what people need to feel, and skills are what people need to do. So another way to think of this is what you think informs how you feel, and how you feel informs what you do. Sometimes I get challenged on this, and people will say, no, these are backwards. How you feel determines what you think. But what I would suggest is that your beliefs, the beliefs that you hold to be true and that you hold on to, are what inform your emotions. So think about a time when you had an emotional reaction to something in the workplace. Either you felt upset, angry, sad, happy, joyful. The question becomes, what thought was causing you to have that emotional reaction? And so the emotion is a manifestation of your belief or your thought that you're holding on to. That's why I postulate that what you think informs how you feel, and how you feel informs how you behave or what you do. So in terms of our learning and development programs, if we want our employees to do something differently, we need to be mindful of what they think or what they know, how they feel, and that will ultimately determine what they do or how they perform. So again, what you think is your knowledge, how you feel are your attitudes, and what you do are your skills. So let's play this out. If we're going to address the business challenge of increasing our sales by March 1st, what knowledge might our employees need? Perhaps they need to be trained on product features and benefits. What attitudes might we need to impart? Perhaps we need to make sure that they're empathetic and they are understanding of the people that they're providing service to. What skills might they need? Perhaps active listening, listening to the customer, gaining commitment or closing a deal, learning negotiation skills. These are some of the ways that learning and development or learning can be a solution to help achieve a business goal. So again, business challenge, we have declining sales in India. Our business goal is to increase sales by 20.75 crore in 12 months. Learning is a solution. What are some possible strategies for accomplishing this business goal? So we've identified that learning is a solution, but it's not the solution. So what I would like to hear from you, shout out, what are some other possible strategies for helping our business increase our sales by 20.75 crore in 12 months? What else might we do? Maybe a recognition program or incentive plan. Encourage people to sell more. What else? Sorry? Customer feedback, focusing on satisfaction and informing that feedback to make improvements. What else? Perhaps we're looking at introducing new products or services. Perhaps we're looking at marketing adjustments, or pricing adjustments. Maybe we need to increase prices or decrease prices, so on and so forth. So some of the things that we might do are here. So what I'm suggesting is that when you're working with business executives, to make sure that you're aligning your talent development or learning and development programs with business goals, what you need to do is strategize with them. What are all the possible solutions that we might do to address this business challenge? And I like to call this a strategy conference with business executives. Get all of your executives in the room and say, if our business goal is to increase our sales by 20.75 crore in 12 months, what are all of the things that we could possibly do? And then come up with the top 3 to 5 things and focus on those things. Now, once you've strategized those 3 to 5 things, the question then becomes, what percent do we think that these possible strategies could contribute to achieving the goal? The reason this is important is because we need to manage the business expectations of our executives. We don't want them to mistakenly believe that training is 100% of the solution. Notice that sales training, we're saying, can contribute to 15% of the goal, not 100%, 15%. All of these percentages, of course, add up to 100%. Essentially, what we're saying is if we do these things and we do them successfully, we should be able to accomplish our business goal of increasing sales by 20.75 crore in 12 months. Now, the question I'm asked quite often is, how do you determine what percentages they should be? Well, there's no formula. This is more of an art than it is a science. This is where you're working with business executives to manage expectations. So in that strategy conference, you are discussing with your business executives and agreeing to what you think these strategies might contribute to. So what we're saying is, training alone will not increase sales by 20.75 crore. Training will only contribute to 15% of that. The rest of these strategies, we believe, will also contribute. Step number 4, now we need to determine what does success look like. For many years in Chicago, I've taught graduate course in human resource development in measurement and evaluation. And what I've found is that most folks wait until the end of a training program, once it's delivered, to figure out how do we evaluate whether or not it worked. Well, I would offer that you have to know what success looks like before you even design and develop the training program. So this pyramid here are 4 levels of learning and development evaluation. Level number 1 are reactions. So when you attend a conference or when you attend a course, you might get a smile sheet or a survey asking, what did you think of the content? What did you think of the instructor? Those sorts of things. What do you intend to apply when you go back to the job? What will you do differently in the next 30, 60, 90 days? But collecting reactions of the learners. Level number 2 is learning. What did people actually learn in the program? What new knowledge did they acquire, and what new skills can they perform? And that's why it's critical to build those activities into the training program so that we can actually see that employees have acquired the knowledge and or the skill. Number 3, behaviors. What are they doing differently back on the job? How are they performing differently? And number 4, what results are we experiencing? And so what I love about these levels of evaluation is, in addition to determining what strategies your company can incorporate to try to achieve a business goal, you can also manage expectations around how will you as business executives work with learning and development professionals to agree whether or not our training programs were successful. From a level 1 perspective, we will come up with a number of metrics. If 85% of our learners say that the instructor meaningfully contributed to their experience, if we receive a Net Promoter Score of at least plus 75, and if 100% of learners intend to apply what they've learned back on the job in the next 90 days, we will agree that that's successful from a level 1 perspective. Level 2 learning, if we accomplish these things, we will say that our learning program was successful. Level 3, if we accomplish these metrics, we will say that learning was successful. And level 4, notice, level 4 are the business results. This is the goal that we set in step number 2. If we accomplish these things, if India sales increase by 20.75 crore, we will say that the training was successful if 15% was achieved. So ultimately, that looks like this. And now that I have this evaluation criteria, I can start designing and developing a training program. So step number 5 is determine what knowledge is needed. Product features and benefits. Our people need to learn the product features and benefits. Step number 6, what skills? As we talked about, active listening, gaining a commitment to closing the deal, negotiation skills. Number 7, determine course objectives. So now that we know what knowledge is needed and what skills are needed, for each knowledge and skill, we're going to have a course objective. So for example, for product features and benefits, learners will be able to effectively demonstrate product features. For active listening, learners will be able to effectively demonstrate active listening. And the last step, number 8, for each course objective, there will be an activity built into the training program that employees will undergo. So learners will be able to effectively demonstrate active listening. In the course, active listening scenarios will be used so the learners will serve as customer, salesperson, and observer, and we will determine whether or not the learners actually learned this new skill in the training program. So these are the 8 steps to effective instructional design based on evaluation criteria up front. If you're interested in learning more, I'm pleased to share with you that the Association for Talent Development has published a book on this topic, Aligning Instructional Design with Business Goals. And the book outlines everything you need to know to be able to go back to your organization and put these 8 steps to work. So thank you very much.
Kristopher, it's my pleasure to present you with this plaque, and thank you very much for your insightful presentation. And also, Harvesh Mehta has joined us, and he is sharing his book, which is Maverick, The Maverick Effect, with each of our speakers. So
great.
Please accept that book as well. Thank you.
Thank you.